Well, hey everyone, it's Carrie here, and it's Wednesday. And so I'm calling Wednesday Wine Wednesday today. So on Wednesdays, I often get a wine delivery. I like to try out what I have delivered, and I thought today I would share with you what I'm trying. So this is interesting, right? I'm a nutrition coach. I care very much about being healthy, and yet I love wine. So how does that work, right? How does that equate? So, to be very honest with you, until recently, I didn't realize how destructive my advice was for people. And now I'm trying to spread the word to make sure that I kind of undo some of the stuff I was teaching my clients and my friends and my family up until now. So, let me just back up a little bit. I love wine. Wine is a big part of my life. It always has been. Well, always, since I was of age and could appreciate it. I've been to Napa, I've been to Italy, I have been able to just kind of really enjoy. I have a friend who's a winemaker, and I very much appreciate the art of making wine and the socialization, the relaxation, all the things that go along with wine. So here's the thing. I have always said that wine is a carb. And so for my clients, we fuel ourselves with food, and we know that when we decide to indulge, we can just count it as a carb and we pair it with a protein and a fat, and it's okay. One thing though that I did know was that we weren't exactly sure what the nutritional content was of wine. Now you could look it up on MyFitnessPal or any of those kinds of apps, and it will give you a general guideline of it. But what I have learned is that because there are no regulations on certain aspects of winemaking, and there are no legal need for certain information to be on wine labels, we are very much ill-informed consumer. And so what I realized was, because I've actually given up wine for 2 months, a little over a year ago. And I did that because I just wanted to practice the discipline of declining, because I love wine so much and I knew that would be hard. But I did it, and it was an amazing experience. And when I went back to drinking wine, I realized, oh my gosh, I can't drink it. It was like full of sugar, and one glass, boom, headache. And for over a year now, I cannot have more than a glass, especially of red wine. I get a headache. I feel really kind of crappy the next morning, and I taste sugar, and I just taste sugar because I don't drink a lot of sugar all the time. So I dug in a little bit, and as I was researching organic wines and trying them, seeing that there was some practices with less sugar and things like that, some better practices around harvesting grapes, I didn't like any of them. So I was like really stuck and just was gonna just keep drinking the wine and just get headaches because I just loved it, but still struggled with it. Until I found another health professional introduced me to a wine distributor called Scout and Cellar. Had never heard of them before, but when I learned their story and what they do to source what they call clean crafted wine, I was very intrigued. But it wasn't until I tasted it that I was completely sold. So all grown from old vines. There's so much flavor and so much depth and layers to every single bottle I've tried. And this isn't like one person making wine, one vineyard. They source wine from all over the world. So I love that we get a variety of wines. They have such high standards. What they realized was there's more than 300 pesticides and chemicals and up to 16 grams of added sugar in a glass of wine. We don't know that. That's like a glazed donut. It's crazy. So the more I learned and the more frustrated I got, and then trying these wines, I was completely sold and realized, you guys, I have actually been coaching you wrong because I didn't know how bad wine was. And I was just saying, it's a carb, don't worry, you don't want to do it all the time, but it's a carb. Well, a lot of my clients were plateauing because they would have wine every night or a few nights a week, especially during COVID, and they were not, progressing in their goals as much. And I really kind of thought it might be stress and lack of sleep and a variety of things until I really started digging into this bad boy. So now I only drink clean crafted wines from Scout and Cellar. My team drinks clean crafted wine, and many of my clients do. So given that, I got this great bottle of 2018 Middle Jane. Now, Scout and Cellar curates wine from all over the world. This one happens to be their own vineyard. And the reason why it's called Middle Jane is because all of the women in their family's middle name is Jane. Isn't that sweet? And I love that all of the vineyards that they source from are small family-owned vineyards. And every single one of them have a story behind it. And I know when I go to visit vineyards and when I talk to winemakers, just because I love that, I want to drink their wine. And so when you go onto the Scout and Cellar website, you can look at their stories and kind of feel like you're there, right? So I opened this a little while ago and I just wanted to kind of like give it a little bit of air, and I thought I would taste it with you because I've not had this one yet. All of their wine is actually very reasonable. I think this is a no-brainer switch. I often say, if you're used to eating Snickers bar, have a protein bar, that's a healthier swap, right? Or if you are used to drinking soda, have a seltzer, it's a healthier swap. It's a swap, and it's a decent swap, but it's not the same, right? Right, like let's face it, a seltzer isn't the same as a Diet Coke, right? But this to me is a healthier swap that is a no-brainer. It's not any more than a regular bottle of wine. I mean, really, a $19 to $25 bottle of wine, that's what you'll get here. This one is a little bit more. I just looked this one up. This is $30. A fabulous bottle of wine, however, for $30 is hard to come by. But most of the wines I get are between 20 and 25. What I love, I'm looking right now at my notes, just right from their website on my iPad. I just looked up the wine, and you can't do this at a wine store, right? You can't just look at the label and understand what's in it. But all you have to do is go on their website. So I looked it up. It's a 2018 Middle Jane red wine. It's 50% Zinfandel, 15% Dolcetto, 15% Barbera, 10% Montepulciano, 5% Sangiovese, and 5% Carignan. And I love, they tell you their tasting notes, what it pairs well with. There's still 14.5% alcohol in this. So it's not like, because all of their wines are organic or biodynamic, vegan. You know, most wines, they don't tell you if they're not vegan. Now, I'm not vegan, but that would be important to me. And you assume that they are, but most wines are actually filtered with animal byproducts like fish bladder or casein. And these are not. So this is filtered with a clay, typically, when they're filtered. The vines, the grapes from this are mostly are more than 30 years old, with some of them coming from 75-year-old vines. They were planted in the 1940s. Isn't that amazing? I love that this was fermented in open top bins and stainless steel tanks for 20 days. And this is all on the website. You don't have to be an expert to know this. And then the wine was aged in a combination of neutral French oak barrels and stainless steel vessels. I love that combination of oak and stainless steel. It just gives it such a different layer and depth. Here's the most amazing part. This entire bottle is 0.05 grams of residual sugar. That is it. That is compared to many glasses of wine that can be as much as 16 grams of sugar that you don't know. You don't even know because it won't be on the label. It doesn't have to be. You also won't know about their farming practices. All of these wines have to be organic or biodynamic, 0 pesticides, 0 chemicals, and the yeast that they use for fermentation is a natural yeast that grows already on the grapes. When vineyards have to use pesticides, they wipe off all the natural yeast that's on grapes, and then they have to put synthetic yeast in grapes to make it wine. None of them have to do that with this. So let's get to trying it, okay? So let's see. When we try wine, we want to smell it first, right? I love a good red wine. So I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm looking at the tasting notes, and it's very hard to look at tasting notes and then figure out what you're smelling. But what I'm reading are notes of blackberry and black cherry and red plum. And then it says there's a hint of caramelized sugar. That smell in there. Can you believe this? 0.05 grams of residual sugar in the entire bottle. I do truly not know what to call this anymore. I'm still going to say it's a carb because there's alcohol in here, but it's kind of really hard to say it's a carb anymore, you guys. Okay, so we're going to taste it now. This really is going to pair well with barbecue. So meat dishes, like steak or leg of lamb. I don't do leg of lamb very often. That would be nice. Okay. Oh my gosh, so bright. Such a bold taste with a just a really great finish at the end of it. It's not that kind of, it's slightly lingering, but I really get so much of that taste right in the start. Yeah, really earthy, bold. Oh yeah, it's nice. This is really nice. So I haven't tried the Middle Jane. This brand, like I said, is from Scout Cellar themselves, and they have a higher end wine too, which I have just gotten. So I'm excited to kind of open that one and try that one out too. So anyway, my team and I are going to be doing an amazing kind of group event next week on the 23rd. It's a wine tasting. We're going to talk more about what clean crafted wine is, what's really going on in your wines. And then we're going to be trying some wines. We're going to be talking about them. And it's going to be a very fun event right from my dining room with a whole bunch of us doing some fun wine tasting stuff. So I'll put a link in here, but if you want to go, it's disruptyournutrition.com/wine tasting. You can sign up and check out our group of folks that are wine lovers and kind of wine connoisseurs. It's some of them, but are really looking for an alternative that's going to be a much better no-brainer choice. So if you want to check that out, I'd love to invite you to the tasting. I'll put that link in there. If you want to check out the website for more information about this wine, which I'm fully obsessed with, it's disruptyournutrition.com/wine. But I will put a link in